During the passing of the Sovereignty Bill, we saw the leader of opposition exchanging words with the Speaker of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Anthony Tamong, is the Speaker of Parliament who acts as a youth winger of the NRM regime, which must not ordinarily be. To an extent, the Speaker of Parliament came out to even thank the Majority Whip Hamson Obua for passing the Sovereignty Bill.
Honorable Obua, you're an amazing person. Good job. I told you all I needed was a number. And you gave me the number. I have done your work.
That act was not called for because the Speaker is an umpire. Even if you are belonging to the NRM party, even if you are the national vice chairperson of a party, you don't need to say that in public for political sake and for harmony in Parliament. But for you to come out and thank the minority leader, you clearly see that you are acting as a youth winger. For example, just imagine if the Speaker of Parliament thanks the opposition for fighting against something. Do you know what could happen? To an extent that even the leader of opposition came out and told the Anita among off, it said these statements.
Even in the committee, they were struggling to get space there. We thought that when we come here, our leader, who is the leader for all of us, you'll be able to accord space to all of us. Because, Madam Chair, when you sit in that chair, you become a referee. You're not even supposed to descend into the arena to participate in debate. And we feel like you're not protecting us, Madam Chair, to air out our views. Are we irrelevant to you and to this House, Madam Chair? I would want to know.
That is the leader of opposition. So you clearly see, Anthony Tamong doesn't know the decorum of being the Speaker of Parliament. That's why in certain countries, a Speaker of Parliament is not allowed to hold any political position or being a political position in any party, because you are looked at as a referee. In very many countries, a Speaker of Parliament should not even be an MP, is elected outside Parliament. So when you clearly see those statements by the Speaker of Parliament, it clearly see that we have degenerated as a country and we've taken our legislature to the executive. I know even under Rebecca Kadage was NRM, he could not come out to fight the opposition like that. Under Edward Chiwanuka Sekandi, they would pass everything that was brought by the NRM, but not in the way how Anthony Tamong chest stamps to the extent of abusing Parliament. There's a day he came out to say that they are going to swallow the opposition. Such statements coming out from the Speaker, it shows the criminality. It shows the lowest mental capacity of the Speaker of the August House. One of the biggest mistakes to happen to our Parliament is Anthony Tamong. Outside Parliament is talked about as someone who is friendly, but when it comes to the administration of Parliament, in fact, his deputy, Thomas Taeba, embodies a better speaker than Anthony Tamong. I'm not NRM. The reason I'm saying that even when NRM has the majority to produce the speaker, there are very many people who can do a better work than the criminal Tamong. Since independence, the first speaker to be sanctioned. Since independence, the first speaker to utter unfortunate statements, calling members of Parliament by names. Yes, the standing orders don't agree to that. Fighting members of Parliament, settling scores politically. Such an emotional speaker. To tell you that the Sovereignty Bill, even the leadership of Parliament wanted it that way, to an extent of fighting hard to cover the agitation of the opposition. Even when they were in the committee stage, we saw people fighting in the committee stage. We saw a video of a UPC MP, Jonathan Oduo, trying to fight the chairman, the chairperson of the committee. In fact, he hesitated.
You cannot treat us like that. Please, there are so many members. You cannot. Members are here. No, we cannot. We are seven. There are so many members standing up. There are so many members.
That is the video. So clearly see that under this regime, our August House has degenerated. It's below the belt. It's being led by a person who doesn't understand how the August House must be run. There are very many differences of former speakers, but they never degenerated our house to this. It is the truth. The day when the finance bill was being passed, we saw deployment around the parliament. By the way, the deployment around the parliament is an attack on an institution. I remember even when the pigeonhole was being passed by Milton Obote, when the UPDF surrounded the parliament, the Speaker of Parliament then ordered the parliament, the UPDF to leave. Now it's becoming routine where when a controversial law is going to be passed, deployment is done around parliament. Remember the legitimate under Kadaga. In fact, that decision tainted the image of Kadaga to an extent that members of parliament were beaten. Soldiers accessed parliament through the office of the president. Now, even whenever controversial is going to happen, deployment is done. Parliament should not do any decision under duress, even if there is a thinking. The Speaker of Parliament forgets that in times of a vacancy in the executive, she can be president. But even a rumor that is threatened is an attack on the institution. In fact, Honorable Zake Kemotan said this.
Leero nkedde ku parliament wano naye si just kwewa makulu naye okutuuka ku parliament awo n'obuuza Zaake nti ye gwani ng'oli musirikale. Kindaze nti leero ekiri ku parliament kigenda kuba kyangu. SFC yonna ejjudde wano kika naye teri kuyisa bbiiru eno ejjako bannayuganda obwetengerere bwabwe okubanga omuntu kyali munnayuganda kuba omuntu eri asobola kusindikira kasente kuva bweru ebyo tubiganye newe munaakola mutya.
That is when the deployment was done on parliament, which is unfortunate. So for me, I know that NRM has over 300 members of parliament. They are going to produce a Speaker of Parliament. They must produce a Speaker of Parliament who is not ignorant, who doesn't learn like Anthony Tamong. In fact, my honest prayer, even when I pray, I think Thomas Taiva should be elevated to become Speaker, and they look for another Speaker of Parliament, because this one is the worst Speaker to ever happen to our August House. Of course, as my opinion is truly Mr. Makindi Kabir Suleiman Magali. If you're into this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I'm motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.